Section 18. Frequently asked questions. Fair housing practice. In the market introduction. The questions. Every agent eventually asks. As we wrap this section of the course, we move into one of the most practical and valuable learning tools, frequently asked questions. These are not theoretical concepts. These are the real questions that come up in the field when you are showing properties, managing listings, or advising clients. In 2026, the difference between a confident agent and a risky one is simple: knowing how to answer these questions correctly in real time. This section will walk you through common ADA and fair housing questions and explain how to apply the law in a way that keeps you compliant and protects your clients. Barrier removal. What does readily achievable mean? One of the most common questions under ADA compliance is whether all barriers must be removed from a property. The answer is no. Barrier removal is only required when it is readily achievable, meaning it can be done without significant difficulty or expense. For example, installing a simple ramp, lowering a telephone, or adding grab bars are often considered readily achievable. These are relatively low-cost changes that significantly improve accessibility. This concept is important because it balances accessibility with practicality. Not every building must be completely redesigned, but reasonable steps must be taken to improve access. What is considered a public accommodation? A public accommodation includes any private business that serves the public, such as restaurants, hotels, retail stores, offices, and medical facilities. In real estate, this includes leasing offices, brokerages, and commercial properties you may represent. These spaces must be accessible and compliant with ADA standards. However, private clubs and religious organizations are generally exempt from Title III requirements. Understanding this distinction helps you determine when ADA rules apply to a property. Doors, access, and movement. What must be accessible? Accessibility often comes down to design details. For example, doorways in hotels and similar properties must allow for proper passage and meet specific width requirements under ADA guidelines. However, not every door requires the same level of clearance. Doors that are automatic or power-assisted may have different requirements than manual doors. The key takeaway is that accessibility is not one size fits all. It depends on the type of feature and how it is used. Ramps, carpets, and surfaces, small details that matter. Another common question involves ramps and surfaces. ADA guidelines state that ramps must be level, but this does not mean perfectly flat. Instead, it means the slope must not exceed a certain threshold, typically very minimal. Carpet must also be firmly attached to ensure stability. Loose flooring can create hazards and reduce accessibility. Even small details like these can determine whether a property is compliant or not. Stairs and accessible routes. When are they required? Not all stairs must meet ADA accessibility standards. Only stairs that connect areas without an accessible route must comply. For example, if a building has an elevator providing access between floors, the stairs may not need to meet the same requirements. This highlights an important principle. ADA focuses on providing access, not necessarily duplicating every feature. Hotels and accessibility requirements. Hotels and similar lodging properties have specific requirements under ADA guidelines. For example, a hotel with a large number of rooms must provide a certain number of accessible units, including some with roll-in showers. This ensures that individuals with disabilities have equal access to lodging options. For real estate professionals working with commercial properties, understanding these requirements is essential when advising clients. Common misconceptions about ADA compliance. Many professionals believe that ADA compliance requires perfection. In reality, the law is focused on reasonable and achievable access. Another misconception is that all properties are subject to ADA rules. As discussed earlier, purely residential properties are generally not covered unless they include public accommodations. These misunderstandings can lead to either overcompliance or, more dangerously, non-compliance. Why these FAQs matter in your daily business. These questions represent real situations you will encounter as an agent. Whether you are showing a commercial property, advising a landlord, or reviewing a listing, ADA compliance is always a factor. Understanding these answers allows you to identify potential compliance issues, advise clients accurately, avoid legal risks, provide better service to all individuals. In today's market, knowledge is your best protection. Connecting this section to the entire course. This section ties together everything we've covered: From fair housing laws to ADA requirements and enforcement, it reinforces the idea that compliance is not just about memorizing rules, it's about applying them in real-world situations. As you move forward, remember that every property, every client, and every transaction presents an opportunity to apply these principles. Online discussion. Question 1. What does readily achievable mean in ADA compliance? Answer. It means barrier removal can be accomplished without significant difficulty or expense. Question 2. What is considered a public accommodation? Answer. A business or facility open to the public, such as offices, stores, restaurants, and hotels. Question 3. Do all stairs need to meet ADA requirements? Answer. No, only stairs that connect areas without an accessible route must comply.